When we think 80s, one of the first things that comes to mind is anything neon. Anything shiny, anything big, bold, and in your face. Well, the 90s were kind of that way too, but the 80s, man. The 80s had something special. The color, the future, everything. When you think 80s, you think of flying cars, overcrowded cities, light everywhere, things with 90-degree angles, and robo-hookers, and... Wait, the 80s didn't have any of that, did they? Well, no in the real sense of the way, but if you look at pop culture in the 80s, I would say yes. They had that and more. We got a glimpse of the future. People had money, people had big ass phones, movies, science fiction to last a lifetime, and best of all, a lot of fucking cocaine. Like, no joke. Probably every part of pop culture from that era that we like or enjoy today was a byproduct of the white powder. You see, back then, people had no time for the lousy psychedelics of their parents. No. They were yuppies and goths and glam. Okay, let me explain. They needed not to expand their minds, but to have more energy. Hence, booger sugar. Oh, wait, this was about neon, wasn't it? Okay, let's get back on track. Now, to be fair, neon lights were not actually invented in the 80s. And were not only used in that time, but for some reason, this was the time they were used and abused so much that they became iconic and gave a whole identity and aesthetic that surpassed the whole 80s decade and paved the way for a lot of things to come. Be it anything cyberpunk, a lot of anime, discos and bars, and yes, even drugs, but I think we already got into that one, didn't we? I frankly think one of the key factors for this whole aesthetic to exist and surpass that many decades is because there's something quite magical in how a day turns to night and a city begins to shine. The soft glow of neon, of lights everywhere, the noise of the street, and the smells of it. You know, they give you this warmth that makes you feel so close to home, yet so far from it. You know, like in space and time, or whatever other cheesy shit that you want to compare it to. As you might have guessed, my intention here is not to give you an in-depth review of what it is to have neon in your home or your city, or when and where it came from. Better than that, let me pose this scenario, if you will. Imagine going out for a few drinks with your friends or your significant other, or maybe both. Then you start listening to this song, a song you like, mixed with the drinks and the fun. There is this quaint, soft glow that slowly but surely creeps in and swallows you and everyone else in the room, like water that bounces from the beer mugs to the tables, to the glasses, to land on your significant other's face. Yeah, that's neon. To give you a reason of this aesthetic of neon, let's move past this hyper-capitalistic and corporate-dominated future and go to real places that adapted these signs as a way of shining above the rest, such as Hong Kong and Japan. In these two places, vendors wanted business, so they raced to get the biggest and flashiest sign they could get. And in Japan, after the post-war, something like this happened. They started growing and creating. But when the 80s started, the economy went up like a fire in a nursing home, and no one could stop it. Or at least it seemed so at the time. Why am I telling you this? Well, because this scenario and environment influenced the whole aesthetic. Because in here, we have one of God's greatest creations, city pop. Sexy genre with cheerful and complex melodies, saying that basically they were having a good time. Ironically enough, one of the city pop anthems, Plastic Love by Maria Takeuchi, tells us a different story. It's a song about a girl that's been dumped and tells us how she's lonely and everything around her is constructed and hollow and manufactured. Also, it was one of the first songs of this genre to break in the West. And I say break because people loves it. They can't get enough. We can use the internet to make sure of that. Maybe everything back in the Japanese bubble was fake. Maybe it wasn't. But one thing we can be sure of is that this genre is one of the precursors of the 80s sound, look, and feel. At least one part of it. So that's why there's so much nightlife, neon, and fun in every part of city pop. So that could be one of the reasons people feel attracted to these type of genres and look, and I, for one, think it's great. Maybe it's time to bring more color, light, and good vibes into work. A good friend once told me after a particularly weird afternoon, everything is cyclical, and the joke always repeats itself. Good night, dream of neon, and be kind to one another.